This is China, but it's no longer Chinese. For 7 years, it's been part of the Japanese Empire. This, too, is China. This is pre-China, where the fight against the Japs continues. Into this primitive country, Americans came to fight with the most modern of weapons, air power. This is where General Chennault and the Flying Tigers of the 14th Air Force have forged one of the most amazing links in the chain of American air power that now stretches around the world and is strangling the Japanese Empire.
Well, my name is Max Rubin. For the last 2 years of service that I was in 1943 to 1945, I was with the 14th Air Force Association, the Flying Tigers under General Chennault. These were a group of volunteers that went over to help China after the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor, and they became our enemy. The Flying Tigers integrated into the 14th Air Force.
The 14th fights a long way from America. To understand its achievements, you must consider its peculiar problems. Everything you see here, every piece of machinery, every American soldier has been flown into China.
It took us 45 days to go from California to Bombay, India. We were on the ship on Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's on the same ship for 45 days. We went across the Pacific. The heat was so sweltering. We crossed the equator 3 times, and I had a pair of new leather shoes, and the leather rotted on the shoes. They were actually peeling off because of the heat. But we made it.
At Chabot, things begin to pick up. The airport and its satellite fields is the great hub of activity in Upper Assam. Here, freight is unloaded, inspected, classified, and stored. But all China has to fight on these supplies. Only a fraction goes to the Flying Tigers.
Over in China, we were sort of isolated out there and never got the latest equipment. My job as a radio repairman, I had to go out and get salvage radio parts in order to repair the radios. Since I was small, I was only 5'6", and I weighed 130 pounds. I was the only one that was small enough to get inside of a fighter in order to retrieve the damaged equipment and take it out and use that for repairing. There was a radio announcer, Japanese radio announcer, who was called Tokyo Rose. And Tokyo Rose used to announce every day after the bombing raid that Kuilin, which was the air base we were at, that Kuilin was annihilated last night. However, since our air bases were made out of just rock and stone, the Chinese workers would be standing along the runway, all the runways, and they would be chopping up big stones into little stones. They would fill up their little baskets, and they would have hundreds of them going up and down, filling up the holes after the Japanese bombed the airport. They would usually bomb about 2 or 3 o'clock every morning. This was just sort of harassment, that by 7 o'clock in the morning, they would have the holes filled, and our fighters would be able to take off again on bombing mission. As a young, poor man coming from a poor family, this was an experience where it was interesting being with the Chinese people. And I met my wife while I was in the service in 1946. We've been married for 64 years, and I've enjoyed every minute of it. The only advice I could give them is that we're going out there, you're fighting for your country, you're fighting for freedom, and just to do the best you can and stay safe.